boys and girls of the shaft! Ha! In today's very exciting video, we're talking about TLC Part 2. My goodness, this is a big update. It took a really long time for me to download, even on my really fast internet connection. So what is new with TLC Phase 2? As I'm sure pretty much everybody is already aware, we got a new Argentavis, we got a new Parasaur, we got a new Raptor, Sarco, Spino, and finally we also got a new Trike. Now there is a lot to talk about. This is a big update, so let's not sit here talking too much, and let's just go right into it. Starting with the Sarco. Bro, this is probably my personal favorite of the entire TLC patch. So what do we got that's new with the Sarco? Well, first of all, it looks good, finally. You remember the old Sarco, how stupid it looked? When it had like teeth on its nose or something, and it's just dumb. It looked really dumb. Well, it doesn't have teeth sticking out of its nose anymore. So it's not just looks with the TLC patch. We also got some new functionality too. And I know everybody's like, yeah, well, it does cool stuff, but I'm not gonna talk about that first. I'm gonna talk about the most important thing first, which is, check this out, man. Check this out, bro! We're going really fast now! Ah! That's right, the Sarco now is fast. It's not this slow little turtle moving thing anymore. This thing is fast. So we also got, check this out. So I'm gonna talk about the real big functionality stuff first. So we also got, check this out. So you remember when people would be like all up in your grill, just piking you in your behind when you were on your Sarco? Well, not anymore, because now whatever direction you're looking in with the Sarco, it'll flip around and bite in that direction. So this is pretty useful. This makes the Sarco way more mobile. Now the speed buff isn't just on land. This thing's been given a dirty speed buff in the water as well. So the Sarco, the TLC patch for the Sarco is all about mobility. That's what it's about, really. Like, one other thing it has now is with a lot of creatures, when you're swimming in the water, you'll just sort of float around and you don't have much control. Well, now when you're in the water, look at this. He can just sort of hover. He can just sit there below the surface of the water and just chill out. You know, you're not moving up or down or drifting off like you would if you're swimming. So, for example, if I'm swimming here, you can see that I'm just drifting. See how I'm falling? Well, with the Sarco, it just stays put under the water. Now, this could be really useful for sort of stalking your prey or sneaking around. You know, if you saw my last video, which if you haven't, go check it out, I was talking about the benefits of sneaking around undetected under the water surface. Well, now the Sarco makes that a lot more easy. Look at this. I can just peek around. The Sarco also scares off piranhas, bro. It scares off piranhas. This is gonna be massive for cave runs. And finally, I'll talk about the big thing, right? What everybody is all like, oh yeah, wow, that is really cool. To me, it's like not cool, but you know, to other people, they're like, yeah, that's sick, bro. So the Sarco obviously has its classic left click bite, and I'll do that right here. Wow, cool. We're left click biting. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's boring. Okay. But the Sarco also has, if I can get out of here, a right click spin attack. Whoa! Look at that! I think this actually looks kind of ridiculous, but whatever. So the right click spin attack actually does a bit more damage. We tested it. It does a bit more damage than the left click. It's not much. It's kind of there. It kind of adds something. It's not really that great, especially because it only works on players in very small dinos. Like, I can't even do it on a dire wolf here. Like, look at that. Okay, moving on to the next one. The Argentavis! Yes, that is what we will talk about next. The Argentavis! So first of all, as I said with the Sarco, and as I'm gonna say with every creature here, my goodness, does that look incredible and majestic. They have, I mean, this is completely night and day different. The Argentavis looks absolutely stunning. But is it just looks? No, it's not just looks, because it has some new functionality too. First of all, the saddle on the Argentavis now acts as sort of a mobile smithy where you can craft things directly in the saddle without the need for a smithy. Fantastic. Also, you see how I have some metal in my inventory? 94 weight, that's a lot of metal. We often like to use our Argents for farming metal, right? But it sucks because I have to dump all my points into weight, and that sucks because I need to have weight Argents, and I need to have like battle Argents and stuff, and that's a shame. Well, not anymore, because look at that, boom! Metal weighs half as much in the inventory of an Argent as it does in your inventory, as it does normally. So the Argent is super useful for farming raw mats now, even more useful than it was, because various resources weigh half as much, like metal, metal ingots, obsidian, etc., etc. Now, other than that, we also got one new abilities. First of all, notice how with the Argentavis now that I have one claw that's sort of held up to hold him and one claw that's held backwards. Now this is, I think what they did is they did this because usually when you're holding players, it's not uncommon for them to use crossbows or different ranged weapons. And a big problem was before the claw would be in the way and they'd shoot your claw. So now one of the claws is sort of held back out of the way so that whoever you're holding can kind of see what's going on. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Now the Argentavis can do that, but also there's a new C ability where with very, very small dinos, I can hold them in my mouth, and I drop my player. Hold on. Boom, look at that. I can now dual carry. How dope is that? The Argentavis is kind of like out of the way, but it's kind of really in the way now too. Look at the tail feathers and how giant those are. And then look at these wings. You took a step forward and you took a step back. So you have a little bit more ability to use ranged weapons with the Argentavis, but at the same time, the model is so big that it sort of negates that. So whatever, cool, I guess. Let's talk about the Trike now. Okay, I know I said that everything looked incredible, but this is the one exception I'm gonna make to the list here. What is this? What is this little duck face? I mean, maybe it's more accurate to the way the dinosaur really was historically, but like, look at that. Other than its duck face, what's the deal with the Trike? Well, actually not that much. So the Trike now might be a little bit more useful in battle. So it's still the same old slow little Trike, just with a duck face, looks new. But what's that over there? That appears to be an enemy atop a bigger dinosaur. Well, what will I do here? I know. I will hold right mouse button, and look at that on the bottom right. We now have like a rage meter, and the longer you hold right mouse button, the more like pumped your little Trike is gonna get. And then you let go, and we can charge him. Okay, that was a little bit unimpressive, but look at that. Oh no! So the Trike now has the ability to charge bigger dinos and stun them, and then same thing with smaller dinos. It knocks back smaller dinos and it stuns larger dinos, as you can see. When your Trike is up against a bigger dino, it receives a rival buff, which increases its HP by 10% and gives it slightly more damage resistance and slightly more damage output. So you can see I'm doing 67 damage with my little charge attack here. Hi-ya! So normal attack is 42. Charge attack is quite a bit more powerful. Here, I'm gonna charge it up fully and then I'm gonna do it. Hi-ya! 67 damage. So 42, 67 damage. Okay, so it's a pretty considerable amount of damage output for a Trike. And that's really all there is with the Trike. Moving on. The Parasaur! Oh my goodness, look at this. It looks absolutely the exact same as it did before TLC patch 2. But don't let the looks fool you, because the Parasaur might actually have some use now. Maybe, possibly, we'll see. So you might have noticed that I keep saying at the top of my screen, Parasaur detected an enemy. Well, that is a new feature, and that feature is the new turret mode, which is actually gonna be pretty darn useful. If you know, in my opinion, the Parasaur is going to be pretty good at just a base defense as a base defense creature, because now if you look at alert settings, you can enable turret mode, and there's even an option to select, well, what do I want my Parasaur to scan for? Now, that's right. The Parasaur is now kind of a mobile alarm and detection sort of radar system. And with turret mode enabled, the Parasaur will scan the location, and it can either warn you of everything, creatures only, players and tames only, or just players. Now, other than that, the Parasaur also has the ability to manually toggle its scan mode, and you can use this infinitely. There's no cooldown. And let's see, are there any enemies in the area? So right click, it does this little sonar thing, and it'll warn us if there's any enemies in the area. Now, this doesn't work on neutral dinos. It won't detect them, but what it will detect is it will detect enemy players, it'll detect aggressive dinos, and that sort of thing with the manual mode. Let me see if I can actually find a player or something. That way we can show this off a little bit better. Okay, so here we go. Now see that. So when I detect an enemy, it says your Parasaur has detected an enemy, and it's a little bit tricky. You have to kind of keep your eyes peeled, but you'll see that there's this little circle that shows up that detects where the enemy is, or rather where it was. There's a little bit of a delay between when it says detected an enemy and when you see that circle show up. So let's say it's like a 2-3 second delay. This only shows you where they were last detected. Now, if they move after you scan them, well, you don't have a dead-on accurate idea of where they are. So this isn't like dead-on radar, but this is pretty darn good. See that? See how he moved and the circle doesn't follow him? So that's just something to keep in mind. This ability by itself is the newest and most unbelievably overpowered offline raiding tool ever. It's amazing. This is a early game creature that you can use to effectively offline raid people's bases. And let me show you why. Because when you have it in turret mode, all I have to do is go into alert settings, and I could say, for example, set it to players only. Well, now we have something a little bit unfair, I think. Hold on, let me move in. Okay, so just pretend that guy hiding behind the tree is like a player in a base. Now I have my Parasaur on turret mode, and you can see now he's only detecting enemy players. So this isn't going to get confused with enemy tames, aggressive dinos, or anything like the normal right-click method does. But this is on turret mode, only filtering players. So you can sit outside of someone's base and just sort of scan and just see if they're online or offline. And if you don't see any of those circles, or if you do see those circles and they're just not moving at all, well, hey, that's your indicator to move in. You can also see how many players are in a base. So this is going to be, surprisingly, I think this might just change the meta. This is kind of a big deal. Other than that, the Parasaur also has what I consider sort of a lame-o scare. You can see that the dodo's running now. Listen to that terrible, wimpy little roar that's supposed to like scare creatures off. This works up to, let's say, the size of like a Deodon. It's not going to scare off anything like a Carno or a Rex, and it has quite a large cooldown in my opinion. So it's okay. It's okay. I would really use the Parasaur for its new scanning function though. Look at this guy. You are looking really fly, bro. Get it? Because it has feathers now? That's right, you now have raptors with feathers. All of you sweaty nerds who have been complaining and throwing a tantrum and saying, I will not play this game until the raptors have feathers. There you go, there's your feathers, all right? So the first thing we're gonna talk about with our guy here, other than the looks, is the pack buff. So you know how the pack buff works. You get a group of something together and they all get improved stats. So with the Raptor, it's a little bit different from what you would normally see with pack buffs. So first of all, this is a big one. Attack speed is increased dramatically. Attack speed is quite a bit faster when your Raptor is affected by the pack buff. In addition to that, the raptors affected by the pack buff also have increased movement speed as well as decreased damage that they take. So that's increased damage resistance. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Now, the thing with the pack buff is if you want to affect your other little raptor buddies and give them the buff as well, you need to press the C key. This works kind of like yeah, they do a cute little like sound. And it works kind of like the dire wolves, and the buff will last for 45 seconds, and then you can use it again, so that's pretty good. Now, down there, we have someone kind of having a little bit of fun hopping around. Why don't we ruin their fun? Let's go. Hey, what you doing, bro? Oh. Okay, well, I got pounced by the raptor, but take a look at that. So, first of all, the raptor now has a new ability. While they're doing their thing, let's talk. So first of all, the raptor has a new ability. It's like a pounce ability, and it can be used to pounce on small dinos as well as players, and it'll pin them down, and while they're pinned down, you can just maul them. You can just keep left clicking and just maul them while they're pinned. Which is pretty cool, I guess, but what's really cool about it is the fact that it has the ability to knock players off of their tame. So that's going to be something that I think is going to make the raptor finally maybe worth using again. That's really the big news here. Ho ho ho! And finally, we're going to talk about what is the biggest and the best and the dopest addition, change to the DLC patch yet. The Spino. Oh, it's so good. I saved the best for last because, I don't know, I didn't do this in any particular order, but my goodness. Okay, so first of all, it looks good. Yeah. We all know that. So up until now, the Spino hasn't really been all that viable in PvP and kind of in general. Like, it just wasn't that good. And I mean, just honestly speaking, there's just stuff that you could tame or you could use that could do everything the Spino could do, but better. But now the Spino has some special abilities that makes it actually pretty good. So first of all, if you press right mouse button, we now have this cute little like hind leg walking ability. And what this allows us to do is, first of all, it gives us tons of mobility. Look at this. We can just rotate around and we can turn and do whatever we need to without having to move. So it's no longer that we have the turning radius of a semi-truck. See, like this. We no longer have the turning radius of a semi-truck, which even the turning radius when in running mode is better now, I think. But now we have crazy, super impressive turning radius. We also have the ability to swipe with our claws, and this is kind of what you should consider fighting mode for the Spino. The claw attack does quite a bit more damage than the regular on all fours bite. And the claw attack actually does even more damage than a Rex. Let's see here. Let's give it a little bit of a try. All right, let's find us a target and let's test out the new battle mode with the Spino. Yeah! There we go. There's a Rex right there. Let's fight to the death. Ooh. Look at that. I'm doing a massive 124 damage per swipe. Now, if I go back on my hind legs, 83 damage. He's doing 58 damage to me per hit. 124 a swipe. I'm doing almost twice as much damage. In fact, I am doing more than twice as much damage. Look at him run. Come back here. Boom. Okay, so other than that, the Spino also has another ability, which I guess is cool. If you look at the top of my screen, we now have a hydration buff, which increases the Spino's speed, health regeneration, and damage. I mean, the speed seems to be increased a fair bit when you get out of the water. In the water, it's kind of slow, but when you get out of the water, the speed seems pretty fast. It lasts for 30 seconds once you exit the water. Damage output, I mean, we can test this real quick, see how this looks. Let's find us a target here. Boom, there we go. Let's swipe it. Hi-ya! No. Hi-ya! Oh, well, it's still doing 143 damage, so it isn't really that noticeable. We also tested the health regeneration, and even the health regeneration wasn't really that impressive. I mean, it was a little bit faster, but it wasn't really anything to talk about. So the hydration buff, I'd say it's good for a speed boost and not much else. And that about covers it all for TLC Phase 2. If you're new here, make sure you click that subscribe button, all right? Do yourself a favor. Make sure you subscribe with notifications so you don't miss a video. And stick around. Look around the channel. I know you're going to find a thing or two that you can get down with. I'll see you guys in the next video.